What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the DLC for Astro Bot. Go over one of the bigger stories that's going on around this game of the end credits and some of the franchises or companies that were thanked right at the end of Astro Bot. Before I get too far in, I, of course, again, want to thank PlayStation for the review code for the game. And want to go over this. I'm actually going to do another video probably tomorrow or Wednesday where I go over some franchises that were missing that I noticed that I would have liked to have seen. Try to have some different, fun videos on this game. But, again, this is kind of the big thing going around. So this is important because, again, these are what was thanked. And if you're talking about DLC, which you imagine, we know that when DLC comes, they're going to have, challenge maps, right? They're going to have all these different kind of levels. And as we know from playing Astro Bot, normally at the end of these levels is a bot. So you can imagine if they promise 10 or 15 levels, that you're going to get maybe somewhere around 10 to 15 bots, right? So these are ones that, while again, I want to talk about in a different video, ones that I noticed, these are the more likely ones, right? I can complain here about other franchises all day long, but these are most likely the DLC bots, okay? So I'm going to take from IGN here. The credits thank Ubisoft, for example, for the inclusion of Assassin's Creed, Beyond Good and Evil, and Rayman, even though those characters or characters from those franchises are not in the game yet. There's also mention of the recently revived Croc, Worms, and Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin. There is no mention, however, of Square Enix. Let's talk about that just really quickly right now. It very much feels like Square Enix probably told them no. I am going to mention Final Fantasy and one other franchise in the video tomorrow. It would have been awesome to see Cloud or Tifa or Aerith or whatever, or other, it doesn't have to be Final Fantasy 7. It could be any of them. That would have been cool. From, I don't know, just from kind of the lay of the land, it feels like Square Enix is the one that told them no versus PlayStation or Asobi not asking. I feel like, and they did say they asked like a handful of companies or a handful of games that they were said no to. And so I do imagine Square Enix is one of those. So, I'm not expecting that whatsoever, right, in the DLC. But now let's start from the top. Assassin's Creed, I think that would be awesome, I would imagine you go for like the big ones, much like, many of these franchises, they go for the bigger characters. So something maybe like, Desmond, I think would be like a deeper cut. I think that would actually be kind of cool. But probably like Ezio and Altair, those would be like a good duo. If you wanted to do a third, like you could do a Desmond, you could do a Connor, you could do like more recent one, like a Bayek would actually kind of be cool, be a little bit more modern. Beyond Good and Evil, I'm trying to think of like at least more than one. Beyond Good and Evil, you can probably easily come up with at least two characters, right, that make sense for that. Rayman as well. So, that would be neat. That, honestly, I get excited for that. Like, you could do two characters from each. You could do one from each if you wanted, but I would be pretty stoked to go through a level and to get, like, Ezio at the end. I don't know about you. I don't know how you would do, like, the hidden blades. Although, like, Kratos has an axe. Some people, some characters have weapons, but hidden blades would be a little different. And then, Croc is an interesting one. I know that people have actually asked me specifically, what I think about Croc kind of coming back. I think it's super cool. Worms, I was never into that franchise, but I looked it up to make sure it was the franchise I thought it was. That would be neat. Honestly, the biggest one for me, gotta be real, Stellar Blade is kind of the biggest one. I think having like an Eve bot, I think would be freaking awesome. Now, you'd have to watch, the clothing choices, how she looks, but there's people, I'm not gonna show it unless if I do, I'll credit it, but I've seen some people do some really great, like, bot creations. Like, I've seen some Kingdom Hearts characters, people do that. I think I saw a Stellar Blade, like what somebody just kind of conjured up, right? I think it would look really, really cool. And you know what? You really actually could do more than just Eve. There's Adam is obviously one, but there's probably a good 3 to 5 characters that you could do. But, if you just stick with one, obviously you would do her. And Rise of the Ronin, that's kind of sweet too. That's almost, I don't want to call it a deep cut, but, that was a game that did pretty okay. But, they've talked about the sales that I think it was like their fastest selling game, at launch, but maybe it's slowed down a little bit. But that's a game that exists, that's come out, that is under the PlayStation umbrella, and that would be a really cool one. Now, honestly, again, I got some franchises that I think are more important than, honestly, all of them, because Most of them aren't PlayStation exclusive. Stellar Blade is the one that stands out the most that is PlayStation exclusive, but, you know, besides Stellar Blade, I got probably like 2 or 3 at least that I think are like higher on the food chain that I would prefer to be in there before Rise of the Ronin, even before the Assassin's Creeds of the world. But, you know, again, you think of Astro Bot, and I think one of the things they do so well is, you know, you got games that are, you know, either started on PlayStation and then kind of, you know, grew out of it, or PlayStation exclusives, and, you know, kind of having that blend, right, of third party, first party. So Assassin's Creed and Beyond Good and Evil and all that stuff, that definitely makes sense. So there you go. Honestly, those are the ones. I really believe that, right? Because they thanked them. They thanked them in the credits. And you don't think, well, I mean, why would you, right? Like, just using common sense, why would you thank the companies or thank the franchises if they are not in your game? If they're not in your game, why thank them, right? There's literally no point. So I think that's obviously because maybe they were in there. And, you know, I'd like to know if maybe there was like 10 that was on the chopping block where 10 made it in versus another 10, and they held those 10 back for DLC, right? You see, like, Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin makes sense because they just came out. You know, these are games that came out like March, April, right? So it's like they didn't have a lot of time to even know if they were going to hit. And they have hit. You know, that people would know those characters and know those franchises. But, you know, they had, what, 5 months to put those, maybe even less, to put those in the game. So I can understand why those were held back. But, like, the Assassin's Creeds of the world, like, I wonder if something made it versus Assassin's Creed and they used that for DLC. But those are the ones, or these are the ones that are probably going to be DLC. And remember, for those that maybe didn't know, like, they've said DLC is coming. They've said levels are coming, all that jazz, before the end of this year, and they're going to be free. So DLC is free, and you're going to get it within the next, like, 2 months, 2.5 months, right? So that's freaking awesome. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know your franchises that you would like to see in Astro Bot. I'll give you guys my list in a video tomorrow or Wednesday, okay? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.